We all love petting our horses. It can feel really good to us. It can feel really connecting. They're such beautiful creatures. We just want to touch them and love on them. But do our horses always enjoy that touch and that petting as much as we do? Fortunately, they will tell us. I'm Callie. You're watching the weekly show here at CRK Training. And today I wanted to cover what I feel is a really important topic: getting better at recognizing if the horses that we interact with, if they really want touch, if they really want to be petted. Touch and petting and scratching can be something that can be very connecting. It of course can feel really good to us. It can feel good to the horse as well. In a training context, we can even use it as a positive reinforcement. But if the horse doesn't like to be touched, or if it's just not appropriate in that moment, then touch can have the opposite effect. Touch can, at best, just create more of a divide in the relationship. It can start to erode some of the trust that maybe had been created or that could be created. And at worst, if we ignore the horse's signs that they really don't want to be touched, and we start petting them and touching them anyway, we can end up getting bit, getting kicked, or worse. If we want to create a truly great relationship with our horse, we need to pay attention to what matters to them. What do they value? What do they enjoy? And we have to remember that what the horse enjoys isn't always the same thing of what we enjoy. When we walk into a barn and maybe there's a few horses with their heads hanging out over the stall doors, or we walk up to a pasture and the horse is standing next to the fence, it doesn't necessarily mean that they want to be petted. But as I mentioned earlier, when we learn to read the sometimes subtle signs that horses give us, we can see if the horse that we're interacting with, or even a horse that we spend a lot of time with, but in that moment, if touching them and petting them is appropriate. One of the first things that you can do whenever you approach a new horse is just to approach, extend your hand, and see if they touch you. If as you approach, they start to pull their head away, even if it's slight, or they kind of suck back a little bit, it's a sign that it would be better to just wait and maybe look away and just stand there for a minute and see if it changes, and be aware of them, notice different things about them, instead of just continuing to reach out to touch them. Another sign is if you watch the tension around their face. Many people know to recognize pinning ears, but there's so many little signs before a horse goes all the way to pinning his ears flat back against his head. You might just see his nostrils get a little flary and his eyes get a little bit white, and see some of those lines happening above the nostrils and under the eyes. You might see the jaw muscles starting to tighten up, or the chin get really tense. If you've just reached out to touch the horse and all of a sudden you see all his face and his neck get really tight, again, that's a good sign that it would be better to pull back and wait and notice if something changes. Notice if he changes and then makes a little bit of a move towards you before you go back in to touch him. When we just bulldoze past all these signs that our horses give us, and we just keep going in to touch them, to pet them, and we think that we're doing it in order to be connecting and to be nice and to love on the horse, we actually really create an erosion in that relationship. We create a problem with the horse's trust because we're not really listening to the horse. Next time that you have the opportunity to approach a horse, maybe it's just when you walk into the barn, or maybe it's when you go to see your own horse and you go out into the pasture with the halter to bring them in for a ride. I want you to really notice as you approach them, and as you first go out to touch them, what is their reaction to it? If you wait, do they touch you first? Just start to notice this and leave a comment down below. What are some of the things that you notice in your horse that lets you know it's okay to be touched? Leave a comment. I'll see you there. And if you're watching this anywhere besides crktrainingblog.com, that's the best place to go to leave your comment. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe so that you never miss any of these videos.